Hi, and welcome to another Monday meditation mindfulness session. I hope you guys are all well, and thank you for being here. To all the occupiers of White City Place, always a warm welcome. And yeah, I hope that you're all enjoying a little bit more ease as things start to open up and London returns to its pre pandemic state. I don't even want to say that. It sounds too fatalistic, but yes, it's all good. And if you haven't meditated with me before, then I tend to discuss a theme, and then we go into a guided meditation, and I will talk you through all of that. And then what happens at the end is that I will just leave you in the space. Hopefully, you'll be in a nice space so that I don't abruptly bring you out of a meditation if it's working for you. It can take quite a long time um, to go into a meditative state. And that's one of the things I can talk about actually. Um, it is very difficult to just plonk down on your cushion or your chair and expect to arrive in that place. Um, Especially dependent on how your day has been, what you have ahead of you, how busy your mind is, in other words. So if you're having a really frantic time and you're juggling everything and then you go, right, oh quick, I've got half an hour I can sit down, you can't expect to just go straight into it. It does take time. And I always allow for a little bit of shuffle time, which is both physical and mental. So obviously the physical side is really what the word says. You're kind of shuffling around until you're comfortable. So, and again, we can overthink that as well. We keep sort of thinking, oh, I've got to be comfortable if I'm sitting straight. Oh, what should I move? How's my back? Oh, maybe I don't know, I might need to move this leg if in 2 minutes. We overthink it. So don't overthink anything. Just be comfortable. And so what if you have to move your body halfway through? That's okay. Doesn't matter. And the physical shuffle time is really um, allowing those thoughts to slow down. There's none of this emptying the mind. That doesn't really make any sense. And it's actually physically impossible to empty your mind. But the idea behind that is that we slow down. We slow down the thoughts. So I like to use the glitter jar analogy here, or a snow globe if you like. Both have the same idea, but I'll stick to the glitter jar for now. Imagine a jar full of water, and you sprinkle some dry glitter into the water. Lots of different colors helps. And then you shake the jar until all the glitter is spinning around like an explosion inside the jar, right? When you first start, you really, really shake it. And then you put it down and then you watch it. And as you're watching glitter, you'll see that it's usually swirling around for quite quickly as soon as you put it down. So you're watching that. Those are all your thoughts. Imagine that every piece of glitter is a thought, and you're swirling around, swirling around, swirling around, and then slowly the swirl starts to slow before any of the glitter then starts to fall to the bottom of the jar. So there's the shaking, shaky, shaky, swirling, 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 and then as that slows down, the bits of glitter start to slowly, one at a time, it would seem, go down to the bottom of the jar. And as it slows down even more, more glitter will then start to keep falling, keep falling, keep falling. And what that does is it creates space between the thoughts as well. No longer are they whirling around in a bunch together, probably around the kind of the middle of the jar. They're now kind of separating a little bit, and some of them are sinking down. So it creates space over the period of, I don't know, 5 minutes, maybe 10. You'll find that majority of the glitter is now making a nice little kind of blanket on the bottom of the jar. Then you've got all this space of water And at the top of the water, you'll see there's still some little bits of glitter. So try and think about that as your mind. If you think about all the glitter that's dropped to the bottom of the jar, or all the useless, what I would call domestic thoughts that have just fallen to the bottom. And then you're still going to have a few remaining, either swirling slowly or sitting on the top of the water that just don't want to sink down. We can't get rid of. They're going to be there all the time. And that's okay because we can use our thoughts as measures. We can use them as measures. Without any thoughts, it would be very difficult to meditate. So we're kind of like bouncing or off or pushing against these measures, being the thoughts. And the idea with them being measures and creating this space, this divide between the glitter and the water, if you like, is the same as our thoughts with creating space. So we're trying to create space between those thoughts. And that's the practice, really. So you can imagine as time goes on, you get quite good at expanding that space between the thoughts because it's just practice. Your brain is not used to um, being quiet. We are constantly bombarding our brains with thoughts, firing at us all the time. Um, and so when it goes into this quiet space, it gets bored quite quickly, and then it's pulling your attention for thoughts. It's pulling your attention all the time towards certain thoughts. So it's not used to that space. So that's why practice is important because after you've practiced meditation for a while, your brain then gets more familiar with this space. It kind of becomes a little bit more comfortable with it, and therefore you might stay there a little bit longer. It's the recognition, and it's also where your focus is going. So if your focus is going into that space, then over time, your brain, your mind will get the message that this is the space I'm trying to expand. So I wanted to talk about that. So let's use that idea. And if you like, you can, in this shuffle time, that's where all of this conversation started. In this shuffle time, that's the shuffle time for the brain, is the glitter jar. And of course, the physical is the obvious. So the first 10 minutes can be used up just sorting out the brain and the body. So that's why you can never expect to just sit down and go, right, okay, I'm in, and start meditating straight away. It takes a while. So quietening down the mind, not emptying it, not emptying thoughts, just quietening it down to create the space for useful thoughts, for insights, for peace, for clarity, clearing away the debris so that we can focus. We can see the wood for the trees, without the trees. There's less trees around. So, okay. Oh, yeah, and one last thing. Also, if you struggle with getting into a meditative state, what you could do is actually have a glitter jar and watch it. It's really mesmerizing. It's a lovely thing to do anyway, just to quieten your mind halfway through your day. Grab a glitter jar, grab a snow globe, make one. Snow globe less easy, but a glitter jar is very easy to make. And just have it by your desk or where you sit at home, wherever it might be, and just shake it, and then just watch it. Just get straight into that zone, and you're then being in the present moment as each little bit of glitter falls. So that could be a nice little practice for you if you find it hard to close your eyes and get into the meditative state. All right, enough from me. Let's get into this. So, yeah, let's start closing the eyes. As I've been talking, you've had a little bit of shuffle time physically. So let's just allow the mental, the emotional, the thoughts, everything in the mind just to quieten down a little bit. So if you want to imagine glitter whirling around inside your head, and that helps. Do that. Now, a good way to discover if you have thoughts whirling around or not is to look at the back of your eyelids and use them, the eyelids, as a screen, as if it's a movie screen. Because most of the time, when we have our eyes closed and we get a thought, it's a visual. So if you keep the back of the screens, the eyelids, nice and clear with no thoughts coming in, it'll just be a straight color or a few blobs, maybe, whatever you can see when you close your eyes, quite literally, at the back of your eyelids. So use that as a starting point and then just see how long you can maintain that gaze before a thought distracts you. And then notice. Notice if it's a visual. So whatever comes into your mind, just see if you see it as a picture. Might be words, but generally with the eyes closed, you get thoughts coming in, they come in as little visuals. So just noticing, just give yourself a few moments to see what's going on inside your head. See if you can get a sense now of how you feel emotionally. And by the way, there's nothing to do here. You're not having to bat away thoughts or try and improve your emotional status right now. You're just noticing everything is okay. It doesn't matter what it is. You're just being the observer. And noticing how you're breathing. Does it feel very shallow and subtle? Or does it feel like you're taking quite deliberate breaths, long or short, deep, shallow? Do your breaths travel all the way down into your abdomen, or are they so subtle that you can't feel any movement? Or are they somewhere in between? And then take your awareness to your sitting bones, your pelvis, and whether you're sitting on the floor, seat, against the bed, on the bed, wherever you're sitting, notice all the weight in the pelvis and let that be a grounding force. The roots of your body. Allow yourself to be taken in by gravity, to be supported by gravity. Now, try not to hunch your shoulders or be too far forward. A little bit of sitting up straight is nice. You don't have to be super, super poker straight. That's a really difficult one to maintain. It's just a reasonably straight spine. And the shoulders a little bit more open, only because when you roll the shoulders forward and hunch your back, it can get in the way of a nice full breath, even a very subtle breath. So that's the only real area that you need to be conscious of when you're sitting. So just noticing how that is. And then you can imagine from this grounding through your pelvis, a little bit of extension through the spine. So as if you're pressing into the floor and extending outwards, getting a little bit lighter up towards the top of your head, away from gravity, but still grounded in the earth. And now just noticing if your knees are relaxed. So any little muscles there you can just let go of. The heels on your feet, doesn't matter if you're sitting cross-legged or feet on the floor, it doesn't matter at all. Just taking your awareness there. So you're feeling from the inside where your heels are on your body, sensing their presence. And then the big toe on your right foot, the big toe on your left foot, your ankle bones, and your hips, your hip joints. Just a little note to remember, whatever we are doing through this practice, just noticing every now and then that when you do get a thought or a distraction, noticing if it's a visual form, really just observing that. But staying with the present as long as you can, whether that's noticing how the body feels, or imagining those little bits of glitter falling, or seeing behind your eyelids how long you can keep looking at the backs of the screens as a long interval between now and the next thought. And again, noticing the breath coming in and out of your body, noticing where the entry point is and how it travels down your throat into your lungs, the chest area. Does it expand? Does it push down into the belly? Do you feel that expanding as well? And if so, watching it all leave in reverse. So creating a little visual for yourself as you breathe in, following the track of the breath. It does happen very fast, so the visual might be quite zippy as you watch it coming in and watch it going out. So just noticing the speed of the breath coming in and out, and where it travels to and where it leaves, how it finds the exit point on the out breath, whether that's your nose or your mouth. And then turning your palms so that they are facing the ceiling if they're not already. Just resting them on your lap, your palms facing up. And just noticing any sensations or tingling in the fingers, particularly the tips of your fingers. That's the most sensitive part of your hands. And then trying to feel the fingers individually. So let's just start off by taking our awareness to the right thumb. See if you can feel that in isolation from the other fingers. And try not to move your hands, try not to move your fingers. Just see if you can sense them from the inside with no movement. And then your right index finger, the middle finger on the right hand, the fourth finger, and the little finger. And see if you can sense the middle of the hand, the right hand. If there's any movement there, any energy, any, could be anything at all. You might just be aware of the creases in your hand. And very gently just crossing over to the left hand and starting off with the palm of the hand there. And see if you can feel both palms together, not putting them together, but just feeling them at the same time. Just being aware of that area. If you can feel anything at all, any tingling or movement or pins and needles or just heat maybe, or maybe none of that. Maybe you're just aware of where they are on your body. And then going to the little finger on the left hand, feeling that in isolation. And then the fourth finger, the middle finger, the index finger, and the left thumb. And again, just sensing both hands at the same time, just noticing any sensations at all. And even if it's not a sensation, getting an idea, trying to get a sense of whether any of the fingers are touching each other or if there's space between them. Again, not moving them, just So they might have gone a little bit numb, and it's hard to tell whether or not there's any friction between the fingers or not. And it doesn't matter. The result isn't important. It's really your observances, what you think you can sense without seeing them or without moving them. Now I'm going to take a little breath exercise using the hands. So I want you to imagine that the breath enters through the tips of your fingers. And I want you to imagine the breath coming in through the tips of the fingers, through the hands, through past the wrists, the forearms, the elbows, the upper arms, right into the collarbones. When you get to your neck, going through the center of your neck, right up to the crown of the head. Now that will be all one in breath. So it's quite a long way to go on an in breath, so you might find yourself zipping up in your mind's eye quite quickly, but you want to reach the top of your head at the top of the in breath. So you can start off really, really slow. I'll do one or two with you to begin with, and I think I'll count just to give you a bit of an idea. So I'm going to count to 6 coming in, and then it'll be the same out. You're just allowing the breath as a visual again. Once you get to the crown of the head, I want you to imagine it washing over the outsides of your head, over your shoulders, down your arms, and back out, out on the fingertips. So just doing that for a while. I'm just going to go and answer my doorbell, but just keep breathing in through the fingertips and out the same way. So when you've done that a couple of times, then just take on your left hand, maybe take your thumb and your forefinger together and imagine that you've just closed the left hand for entry with the breath. And try and see if you can just breathe in using the right hand. So you're breathing in through the right fingers, all the way up the arm, all the way up to the top of the head. And when you get to the top, breathing out down the right side, over the head, down the shoulders, down the arms, and out through the fingertips. Just doing that for a few different trials. And when you've done a couple or a few of those, you can swap it over. Take the right hand, close the gate if you like, and then go to the left. It's just a really nice way to be mindful with your breath. Breathing in through the fingertips. And also, when you get to the top of the in breath and you're at the crown of your head, if you want to hold the breath for a moment, that's also a nice little junction to do that, to see how you go. But you can also run out of breath a little bit when you're doing these exercises. So be kind to yourself. If you need to take a break, do that. Just stop for a little moment and breathe normally and then go back to it. So while you're doing this, I'll just talk a little bit about distractions. So you would have known, of course, my doorbell went. And that's okay. We can use sounds a little bit like we use thoughts as measures. Not necessarily because you're measuring a space between sounds, but really measuring how you react or respond to the sound. When you hear a sound like a doorbell or something that interrupts rather than an ambient sound, something that interrupts, how do you respond to that in your brain? Do you react or can you just step back and go, okay, so what? There's a doorbell. I'll just go back to where I was. So, really using sounds is a really great way of harnessing your practice. It really is a practice, not getting consumed by the narrative of what that sound might mean to you, how you interpret it. Okay, so one more breath in, breathing in and out this way. And then taking your focus back to behind your eyelids and just seeing what comes up there. Also, there's a little bit of recovery time after you've done a conscious breath exercise like the one you've just been doing. So notice how you recover, how it is when there is nothing to do with the breath or the mind other than just sit and observe, looking at the back of your eyelids again to notice there. So it's a little bit like you're sitting in this little waiting room, just monitoring what comes up on the screens, if anything, and trying to keep whatever you can see there on the screen. So that literal image of the back of your eye, it's not an image, it's a sight, whatever you can see, the back of your eyelids, keeping it there. And depending on the light, it can change as well. Like if you start off doing this facing a sunny window, you might have a really nice bright color behind your eyelids. And if the clouds come over, you'll notice the shade of that color changing, it'll get darker. So just being cool with whatever happens there and seeing a little movie of the eyelids. And while you're looking at the backs of the eyelids, just getting a little subconscious view of how you're breathing, checking in there. Without changing it. The minute we start thinking about the breath, we try and change it. We don't mean to, it just happens. That's what we do, we just react that way. So see if you can step back a bit, be the observer, and just notice how you're breathing without any effort. And you can still do that by looking at the back of your eyelids. And you can still do that while also getting a sense of if your body is relaxed or because we were doing the breathing up the arms in and out, you might have tensed a part of your body or your face, your jawline, your eyes, your arms, your knees, whatever it might be, just because you're holding a focus. So let that go. See if you can just release any hold. And then you combine the three things. So the back of the eyelids, easy breath coming in and out, and your body softening. Combine those three things together just to stay really here in the here and now. You might also be aware of sounds around you. The other good thing about sounds is that they keep us in the here and now because wouldn't be able to hear it unless it was happening right now. Now we're going to take out some of the furniture in your head. So imagine that we're just very gently lifting out the skull and putting it to one side, creating an empty room. And then taking some of that space down the neck into the torso and also removing the structure there. So the spine, the rib cage, the organs, everything except for the heart. The heart is going to stay inside the shell of your body. Everything else can go. And then imagining that this heart is doing all the breathing for you. Because you've taken out the rib cage and all the other organs, I want you to imagine that this heart has all the space in the rib cage to roam and expand. So every in breath that you take, the heart expands a little bit, and then a little bit more, and it just builds. And with that, I invite you to think of something that you feel grateful for. Anything at all. It doesn't have to be life shattering. It could just be a nice cup of coffee this morning. It really doesn't matter. A smile from a stranger, your health, friends, community, life returning, whatever it might be, small or large. And then every time you breathe in, you could just say to yourself, I am grateful. Feeling the heart expanding and taking up that space in your ribs. Keep saying it to yourself, I am grateful, and feeling the sense of the word. You don't have to even remember or keep seeing the visual of the thing that you're grateful for. Just feeling that sense of gratitude and letting it build with every in breath, every expansion of the heart. And this is where I'm going to leave you to stay with that expanding heart of yours, and so that you come out of the practice when you're ready. So take your time, stay there as long as it feels good. Keep expanding the gratitude.